Let's take a broader look now at the hospitality industry as it adapts to business amid the pandemic. My colleague Rachelle Akuffo spoke to Erinn Tucker, Associate Professor and Faculty Director of the Global Hospitality Leadership Program at Georgetown University's School of Continuing Studies. Rachelle began by asking her how much summer revenue can be salvaged.
Definitely going to be a very unprecedented summer travel season for the industry. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development stated that global tourism could lose about $1.2 trillion in GDP this last 4 months, and then up to $2.2 trillion over 8 months. And as mentioned, I mean, the American Hotel and Lodging Association, even in the U.S., has estimated about $23 billion in loss. Even looking at the African Union, the AU, the Commission has estimated even with African countries, they've lost about $55 billion. So with tourism and travel representing about 10% of GDP for many countries, the industry averages that this summer salvaging about a goal of 20% of their business. Only 20% is a goal really to set. Even airlines, Ethiopian Airlines were using this opportunity really to begin to start acquiring smaller airlines, but due to the outbreak, they had to put a lot of that on hold. So about 20% is about a goal that the industry is setting.
And we're certainly seeing some borders closing and others reopening. I want to talk about the European Union's temporary ban on U.S. travelers. What sort of industry will that have on the hospitality industry there? For instance, how much do they count on U.S. travelers versus other countries?
Well, it's interesting because U.S. travelers make up about, on average, about 17% of the international inbound travelers within the EU. Most travel actually within the EU is within the actual fellow European countries. So according to Eurostat in 2017, EU residents spent about 82% of their tourism and expenditures really on trips inside of Europe. So when you have that and about 168 million arrivals in the EU, when it comes down to hotel accommodations in 2018, when we're looking at those, 49% or 82 million of those arrivals were from tourists within other European countries. And then about 23% of those 23% of travels also came from Asia. So with North America representing about 17% of travel, while 17% is a considerable number, as long as Europeans and Asian travelers are continuing to go through the AU, the loss of U.S. travelers will not be as great.
Now, here in the U.S., some cities that had started to open up are closing down again. If you're a business owner and you're trying to make plans, manage hiring, while constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop and potentially close again, how do you manage that strategy-wise?
Wow, I mean, it's such a huge question, and, you know, really business owners overall will have to plan ahead. They really will, by articulating clear guidelines to their employees, even if it's daily conversation. It's so important. They can first, though, refer, especially in the U.S., to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's state-by-state reopening guide. That is something that it's real time. It has a lot of details on reopening per state. Business owners that are within the hospitality and tourism sector are really using also this time to really tighten their procedures and their protocols. They're actually using this as kind of an opportunity. Small business owners are really using this time to really be resourceful in their testing of new menu items, new processes, new procedures, new products, as well as this time to really engage with their local community. But if you're a business owner that's outside of the hospitality industry, but of course you need travel in order to make your business happen, right, it is really important that those owners really contact those local agencies, their local restaurants, hotels, as well as airlines to make sure that they have really up-to-date information.
And just very quickly, obviously the hospitality industry employs millions of people. What is the experience for larger chains versus, say, these smaller hospitality companies in terms of getting support from the government?
Well, really when it comes down to larger organizations, I mean, the government, depending on where the hotel is, really the government has really been trying. There's been a lot more communication between hotel owners, large chains, and the government. It's exceptionally important because a lot of times a lot of government officials don't necessarily know how the industry works. So there's been much more communication between the two. Small business owners are relying a lot more on their local government for PPP financing, as well as just local micro grants that a lot of agencies and a lot of local government agencies have produced.